So the topic for today's discussion is the visual pathway and lesions. So before we start visual pathway and lesions, let us just take a brief look about the layer of retina. So these are the layers of retina from the choroid side to the vitreal side. That is retinal pigment epithelium, photoreceptor layer, external limiting membrane, ONL, OPL. NL stands for nuclear layer, PL stands for plexiform layer. Again, internal, sorry, let me correct it. Inner nuclear layer. Okay, okay. Inner nuclear layer, inner plexiform layer, ganglion cell layer, nerve fiber layer, and inner limiting membrane. So these are the layers. See the retinal pigment epithelium. Okay, this layer forms the your blood brain barrier, blood retina barrier, correctly speaking here, blood retina barrier, because beneath this is the Bruch membrane. This Bruch membrane is very important because the Bruch membrane, it is sometimes affected in the age process while aging. That means when we age, it gets thickened. This Bruch membrane, okay, this layer, this gets thickened and calcified. There is deposition of calcification in this layer, okay, with aging, and this can impede the nutrient flow from this choroid, because once it gets thickened and there is calcification, now the nutrient flow cannot happen from the choroid side. This will lead to age related macular degeneration. So Bruch membrane getting thickened with age, getting calcified, will lead to age related macular degeneration. Another thing is choroidal neovascularization. When this is the choroid side, when there is a lot of vascularity in this side, these abnormal blood vessels can grow into the retina, and that may cause vision loss. This is CNV, choroidal neovascularization. Just write it down over here for the simplicity to remember what can happen when the Bruch membranes get affected. We can have age related macular degeneration and choroidal neovascularization. These two entities are related to your Bruch membrane. Now coming back to the retinal pigment epithelium. See, this retinal pigment epithelium, this layer, this contains a single layer of pigment cells. See, a single layer of pigmented cells. What is the function of these cells? The function of these cell is to absorb the stray light, because light यहाँ से आती है, ठीक है, and they gets signaled by the photoreceptor layer cells, that is a rod and cone, but whatever the stray light is left, that is absorbed by this single cell layer of pigmented cells. So you see one more very important thing here. See, these cells are your rod and cone cells. Okay, this is rod, this is cone. Anyway, about these rod and cones, what we know, okay, I'll write it down. Rod and cone. So these are your photoreceptor cells. These are your, write down, photoreceptor cells, which convert light into electrical signal. Correct? Let me add one more page and write it down about it. Okay, so rods. About rods, what we know, that rods are mostly present in the periphery. Correct? Periphery, okay, and it is responsible for your dim light vision, right, which is called scotopic vision. अंधेरे में जब हम देखते हैं, ठीक है, also called so dim light vision, scotopic vision, black and white vision, ये सब रॉड करता है, ठीक है, and the pigment which is present in these rod cells is known as rhodopsin. okay, which is very sensitive to low light, very sensitive to low light. Okay, and so when we study dark adaptation, this is the cell which is responsible. So it is not sensitive to color, that is why it is black and white vision. Next, cones. About cones, what we know, see, cones are lesser in number compared to rods. So rods are about 120 million per eye. Cone is just 6 million per eye. So in each eye we have 120 million rod and 6 million of cone, and the cones are centrally located in the center of the retina, that is fovea. And the pigment that is present in cone is photopsin, and there are actually three types of photopsin, and the vision that we get from these cones is called photopic vision. We get photopic vision, which is your high resolution vision, that is your high resolution vision, high resolution vision, your color vision. So color, आजकल तो यू नहीं देते हैं, color vision or bright light vision. Okay, and there are three photopsins, just to tell you, R, G, B, right? Red, green and blue. This gives your trichromatic vision. Coming back to this picture, this thing in blue color, this is rod and this is cone. And in this structure, okay, I'll draw, this is the synaptic end of the photoreceptors, rod as well as cone. Okay, this is the synaptic end, this is the nucleus, this is the nucleus. Okay, this is the inner segment, this is the inner segment, this is the nucleus, this is the synaptic end. So synaptic end, nuclear end, inner segment, and this layer is the outer segment. What you see over here is there's this retinal pigment epithelium. It's a phagocytotic cell. What it is eating? It is eating the outer segment of the photoreceptors. By phagocyting the outer segment, why it is called outer segment? Because inner segment is towards the vitreous side, because it is the center, right? Because here we have the vitreous, so vitreous side is inner side, choroid side is the outer side, so that is what is outer segment. We are going from outer to inner. Okay, the innermost layer is the internal limiting membrane. Okay, so we have this retinal pigment epithelium, then we have the photoreceptor layer, okay, which is the outer segment of the photoreceptor. Then we have the it is within the photoreceptor layer, the photoreceptor outer segment, which is phagocytosed by the retinal pigment epithelial cell, which is a kind of a phagocytotic cell, because this removes waste from these photoreceptor. And also this retinal pigment epithelium gives nutrition, which it receives from the choroid side, which crosses first the Bruch's membrane, then comes to the retinal pigment epithelium, then it goes to the photoreceptor layer, and then it will get to this layer. So it is the process of diffusion by which retina gets the nutrition. Actually, this process of diffusion only works for the outer layers. Okay, for the outer layers of retina, they get nutrition by the process of diffusion from the choroidal side. But the inner layers, okay, the inner layers of the retina, they are supplied by direct blood flow. Okay, I'll write it down. So the inner layers of the retina, they get direct blood supply via the central retinal artery, and the central retinal artery mainly, which is a branch of ophthalmic artery. So remember this, that the inner layers get supply from the central retinal artery, and the outer layers get nutrition via diffusion. Remember the inner five layers get get supply via direct blood supply. You get nutrition via direct blood supply. The internal limiting membrane, nerve fiber layer, ganglion cell layer, inner plexiform layer, and inner nuclear layer. They get nutrition via blood supply, the retinal blood supply. Also, some amount of the outer plexiform layer, that is the inner sixth layer, also get nutrition from retinal blood supply, retinal artery blood supply. So this layer, outer plexiform layer, gets supply from both this side as well as this side. This side blood flow, this side diffusion. That we see is the retinal pigment epithelium, the photoreceptor layer, the external limiting membrane. Outside the external limiting membrane is the nuclear layer of the photoreceptors. That is what is called the outer nuclear layer. It has the nucleus of the photoreceptors. Then outer plexiform layer, it has the synapses of the photoreceptors, which are forming synapse with the bipolar cell. The next important cell here is the bipolar cell out after photoreceptors. So bipolar cells के साथ synapse हो रहा है in the outer plexiform layer. Then the inner nuclear layer, it has the nucleus of the bipolar cell. Then after the inner nuclear layer is the inner plexiform layer, which is a synapse between the bipolar cell and ganglion cell. So retinal pigment epithelium, then we have the photoreceptor layer, then we have the external limiting membrane. After external limiting membrane, we have the outer nuclear layer, which has the nucleuses of the photoreceptors. Then outer plexiform layer, which is forming synapse between the photoreceptors and the bipolar cells. Then the bipolar cell nucleus forms the inner nuclear layer. After this, the bipolar cells synapse with the ganglion cells. We have the inner plexiform layer. Then we have the ganglion cell layer, right? Lastly, the nerve fiber layer and the internal limiting membrane. This ganglion cell layer, their axons form the retina, from the optic nerve. What makes the external limiting membrane? See, also there is another important cell, Muller cell. This is the Muller cell. Okay, this green thing, Muller cell. So Muller cell is a supporting cell which extends from the internal limiting membrane to the external limiting membrane. From internal limiting membrane to external limiting membrane, this Muller cell spans. This is the longest cell in this layer of retina. It gives the structural support. Okay, so there is junction between the, there is strong gap, there is strong junction between the photoreceptors and Muller cell that forms the external limiting membrane. We have discussed about 4 types of cells here: photoreceptor cells, bipolar cell, ganglion cell, and Muller cell. Other than this, we have 2 more cells. One is the horizontal cell, other one is this other one is this amacrine cell. So horizontal cell is present in the outer side, amacrine cell is present in the inner side. It is present in the inner nuclear layer. Within this inner nuclear layer, we have the nucleuses of all the 4 types of cells: the bipolar cell nucleus, amacrine cell nucleus, horizontal cell nucleus, and the Muller cell nucleus. See, all the nucleuses of them is present in this layer, inner nuclear layer. इसी में सब कुछ है. बाइपोलर सेल के न्यूक्लियस भी हैं, amacrine सेल के न्यूक्लियस भी हैं, horizontal सेल के न्यूक्लियस भी हैं, Muller सेल के न्यूक्लियस भी हैं. Recapitulation again, revision, just quick revision: retinal pigment epithelium, photoreceptor layer, external limiting membrane, outer nuclear. We call it outer because this is the inner side, and this is the inner side, and this is the outer side. So we are going from inner to outer. So outer nuclear, outer plexiform, inner nuclear, inner plexiform. So nucleus, plexiform, nucleus, plexiform, ganglion cell layer, nerve fiber layer, internal limiting membrane. Okay, so this we have covered. Now we'll discuss the visual pathway and lesions in the next topic, in the next part.